call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag excuse for here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Nice to see the Edgewood Colts display back here. It's pretty awesome. For the roll call, please let the record reflect that the board members are all present except for Angela Jacobs. She is present, but she's not present this evening. And so we'll go right into the Mustang moment. So Dr. Sanders.
Yes, thanks. Whoa. Can you hear me? I tell you what, we have a lot of great students and our schools are awesome. One of the schools that I really get excited about, they're doing so much, is Edgewood Junior High School under the leadership of Mr. Siglin and Mr. Pogue, and an awesome group of teachers and staff, and so EJHS is doing a Mustang moment tonight. I'd like to introduce Mr. Siglin.
Following Mr. Ackerman's lead from last month, we've got about 65 minutes worth of presentation for you. So we'll no, due to some illnesses and family matters, one of the things that you get when you're principal's kids is you get volunteered to do some stuff. So two of my four are here tonight to help me present some stuff that we've been working on this fall here at the junior high school. And so we're just going to kind of recap what we've been doing. I've got Mr. Sparks to talk about one of our clubs that we've been really excited about and some things that we're trying to get some traction on. So first thing I'll just jump into, one of the things that we started last year and we've kind of developed it further is we've got what we call our Colts Chronicle. That's a newspaper that we work on with our, it's mainly sixth graders, but in there we've got sixth graders that are being mentored by our seventh and eighth grade students so that they're working on their writing skills, specifically in the form of a digital newspaper that they have created. And so we've got our Colts Chronicle that they publish a couple times per semester. I think that we've done 2 or 3 submissions this year, and so then you can see kind of the way it breaks down. We've got our breaking news and our features, and so they've got just different things that the kids feel are important topics that they want to address, or things that maybe Miss Ayer and Mr. Anspaugh just ask them to kind of dive into just a little bit. So our students in that class this last semester, I think in September, late September, early October, they got to visit the media school at IU, and you can see some of the pictures that they got from that visit there. They had a really good experience, and the feedback we got from them was it was really more than what they could have asked for, because it was a really, really good experience for them. The second thing that we want to kind of highlight is our media production class. One of the things when we started the Ready Schools process was I always said if we give junior high students the tools, they can do some really cool things. And we've really done a good job investing in our kids, and we appreciate all the work that you guys have done and all the funds that you provided for them, because they have done some really cool things. We started out with a media productions class for just 7th and 8th graders, and it was just like an intro to video editing, how to interview, how to edit and do some just basic things. And last year they got commissioned to do the awards for the Ellettsville Chamber of Commerce, and if you guys went to that, it was really, they did an excellent job. And so that's something they're going to continue to work with the Ellettsville Chamber on. They're also working with the Success School and the Teacher of the Year program. They're going to work on doing those profiles for them as well. And that program went so well that this last year we were able to create a 6th grade basically intro to media production, and on top of that we had kids that were in media production that really liked the program and what it was about, and so then we were able to create an advanced media production program. And so I'm going to introduce my son Jonah. He is a 6th grader here at the junior high. He's in the Intro to Media Production class, and he's just going to talk really briefly about kind of what that Intro to Media Production class is.
In Intro to Media Production, we have learned video editing skills, how to give constructive input, how to interview, filming B-roll, camera movement and angles and focus filming techniques, working as part of a team, enhanced message with title, motion graphics, and lastly, sound recording and editing techniques.
And so one of the projects they had this last fall was they were commissioned by Beacon to create a video project. I'm going to share that with you guys right now. It's about a 4-minute film, but they did an excellent job on this, so I'm going to share this video with you guys.
deeply marginalized and separated from our society, people who are struggling with some of the greatest hardships and challenges, and to be a lift for them, a support for them, a care for them. And I think everything that we do comes back to that. Our emergency services meet people right in the midst of crisis, whether they just become homeless or just facing a poverty crisis. That we meet people in that space of crisis, and we create and give to them the essentials. And the essentials include things like food and shelter, warmth, all these things, storage, even things like mail, and all those kinds of all the basics. But there's another basic too, which is dignity. From there, then we work to solve for most of our folks the problem that they are confronted with when they come to us is homelessness. And so we try to solve that problem by helping them move into housing. We now are actually the largest nonprofit housing provider in Monroe County. It's something I'm extraordinarily proud of, even from just a small one-room organization 22 years ago that helped people with coffee and a newspaper to now the organization that provides more housing than any other nonprofit in our city.
Beacon helps me every day because my purpose now, since I'm off the street, is to try to help somebody else who's off the street. I love life because there's been many times I made it in life.
I think that they're there for anyone who wants help. If you really truly want to improve yourself, they're there.
I want you to remember, this could just easily be you. The circumstances were different. One bad accident, one bad medical issue requiring large amounts of resources. It can break you. The average American today is just 2 paychecks away from being on the streets.
I was pretty sick when we first got into the shelter. I just got out of the ICU. They made sure we had meds, and they took me to the doctor, and they checked on Sarah while I was in the hospital.
Having a place to go made a lot of difference. Not being on the street, being safe in the warmth, being able to, help people.
I think it's really important when people think of Beacon that they realize that Beacon is created by and driven by everyone. That it is a product of the support of the whole community. That when we talk about what Beacon does and what it accomplishes, every single person who supports, every person who makes a donation, every person who volunteers, every person who advocates for the work we do, they are a part of Beacon, and they are a part of that work.
And I'm grateful for the chances that we're given every day. I'm grateful that people keep on hoping. Your help and your love will make the difference.
Thank you for all who seek home.
You see, that's an example of the work they're doing down there. That's a tough project to take on, and it's, you know, these kids can do hard things, and they do it well. And so they put that video together. It's awesome to see the work they do. You get in there, they've got hours and hours and hours of film that they've taken, and you know, voice editing, all the things that they have to do, and they do it and do it well. So some things they've got coming up, just what's next for them. They've got some new tools that they are working on incorporating into their classroom. They are going to work with EIS to create a comprehensive orientation video to try to help that transition from 2nd to 3rd grade. And so they'll be able to kind of introduce families to EIS and everything that goes on there. Applying essentials of the broadcast news anchoring to write, produce, and edit Colts Connections. And so they do a show every Monday where they're basically introducing the week to the students here, so they can show that. It's like the daily announcements, but the students kind of create it. They're creating commercials for our courses, and so that staff will be able to share those, so when kids are signing up for courses, they'll be able to have a better idea of what that class is about. They're working on creating, I said this earlier, but they're creating profiles with the Bloomington Success School for the annual Educator of the Year Award, and they work closely with Rob Ramsey for a lot of things they do from Smithville. They're learning sound editing and the art of visual effects. I think that Ms. Scott this last week did this, I can't even remember what they call it, but she's got all kinds of like tools in the class that don't, like you would think that would make these sounds, but she uses them to make the sounds, and then they create, they basically got a silent film, and they're creating the sound effects for the silent film, and it's really cool to see the final project. And then just creating passion products by drafting full production proposals. And our advanced classes are really working on how they can create basically contest-worthy films, and they're going to start kind of competing at that level. So it's really neat to see what they're doing in media production. The next thing, and I've got my 8th grader here, Ava. She's going to talk a little bit about the Pumpkin Fest. I don't know if anybody was able to attend the Pumpkin Fest. That was a vision that Miss Jones and her class had 2 years ago. It was the fall of 2020, and it's kind of grown into something that was in 2 years, not something necessarily that we projected to be as successful as it was, but I'm going to let Ava talk a little bit about what that process looks like.
Pumpkin Fest is student-run with the help of Mrs. Jones. The committee consists of 7th and 8th graders, and each student helps in their own way by joining and helping different groups that happen within Pumpkin Fest. The different groups consist of operations, communications, and marketing. Decisions are made by talking about why we are buying the item, the pros and cons of the item, and then budgeting is considered after that. After it is all then considered, we take a vote, and then majority wins.
And they're going to get out of here, but the Pumpkin Fest this year, and I'm not real good at the Facebook thing, but they put out there like basically an invitation for everybody to just, are you interested in this event? And at one point there was over 1,000 people said that they were confirmed having interest in the event, and if you were able to go that night, we had next to perfect weather for that, and it was hopping. I mean, there was a lot of people over there. It was really neat to see. They do a pumpkin derby, they have games, they work with community, and they do different, I think the band and the choir and several different organizations use it as a fundraiser. They sell food there, and they had a pumpkin carving contest, and then there was probably 18 to 20 different vehicles there where they did a trunk or treat. And so it was just a really neat opportunity for our school to create this for the community. And at this point, that was a vision, like I said, 3 years ago. So the fall of 2020, this class looked at, we're dealing with COVID and we're dealing with all these things that were shut down, and how can we do something to bring the community together? And this is totally created by the students, run by the students. And at this point, it was self-sufficient. We didn't have to provide any money for them. They were able to collect all their money that they needed to purchase the things that they needed for the event. We got some donations, but everything was created and run by the students. They did an awesome job. The first year, it was a 6th grade homeroom that decided that they were going to do this. And then as 7th graders, they invited some 6th graders into the process. And now this group is outgoing 8th graders. And so they are trying to train up the younger guys to bring them along. So this is something that we can continue, because it is really neat for both our school and our community to be able to put on an event like this. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but the Marching Mustangs in their state championship, we did have 15 students from the junior high that participated in that state championship team band that were either in the band or the color guard. And so that's something that we can celebrate as a school as well. For our athletics this last fall, we had a really successful 8th grade volleyball season. For the first time in a long time, we were WIC champions. We were county runners-up. We had beat Bachelor, who had been undefeated at the point the week before, but we had played about 5 or 6 games prior to the county championship game, and our girls just eventually ran out of gas. But we were the Seymour Invite champions, and then we were the Wabash Valley Invite runners-up. And so I think their final record was something like 25-3 or 27-3, so they had a really good year. And the same thing with our girls cross-country program. 6th to 12th grade, that program has been wildly successful, and this year our girls were WIC champions again. So, and then the next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to have Coach Sparks come up and talk about this a little bit more, but this was something we kind of last winter had started talking about, this kind of club, and then we had looked at what can we do to kind of continue the success of our athletic program, and what can we do to support both the physical needs of our students, but also try to help that athletic progression to make sure that we are preparing the kids for the transition to high school. One of the things that we talked about is when student athletes train together, the energy and competitiveness is leveled up. And so we're trying to get our kids in there working out together and encouraging each other. It builds camaraderie amongst the team, which is hugely important to maintaining and building a winning culture. And so that's really what this program is trying to do, and I'm going to let Coach Sparks kind of talk about. We added advanced PE class this year, and so we've got, in our advanced PE class, we're teaching, lifting techniques and doing some speed and agility things, trying to help our students that want to compete at the next level be prepared for that. So I'm going to let Coach Sparks talk.
Well, I'm excited to be here tonight, and was happy that Mr. Sigland asked me to come in here. Mr. Moss and Mr. Tucker, I don't know if you actually remember me. I was a freshman back in 2005, so I think it was your last year. But I'm here, and this has been a new chapter in my teaching career. This is year 8. PE, this is the second one, so I'm excited to get started on this, and I'll take you along my journey here. This was one of our most recent pictures here from our horsepower club. We meet on Friday after school every 2:30 to 4. And unlike, I guess, a lot of other activities or things, keeping kids, this isn't a everyday practice. It's a once a week opportunity, and we run it from 2:30 to 4. And so a lot of times, that's on Friday, kids have better things they might want to do or things they'd rather go do somewhere else. One of the benefits, and we've kind of seen on this, is, you got to give up something to get something greater. And so we're teaching a little bit about sacrifice, and these kids come in, day out, and are ready to prove it. Part of my inspiration for wanting to do this is actually me back here in junior high. I started wrestling when I was in 7th grade. My PE teacher actually introduced it to us, and I fell in love with it. Mr. Gill was actually my math teacher and wrestling coach. He had talked to me about it. I really didn't have a lot of desire to wrestle. But when I tried in PE, It's like, this is a fun sport. And so since then, I got into weightlifting a little bit. I went over to the high school actually for a little while to learn to lift weights for the high school. And it wasn't really the best learning opportunity, but it still ignited this passion for lifting and getting stronger. And so I've kind of really been on this journey since the junior high on, learning about weightlifting and teaching others. I do, because I understand when talking about weightlifting, there is some hesitancy as far as should kids be doing this, how are they doing this, and is it safe? And so, I actually began, so a little reference in there, began back lifting in 6th grade. I compete currently in powerlifting stuff, which is a competitive squat, bench, and deadlift. And so that's something I kind of do on my own. And so I think that sometimes in the classroom, you want to know your teacher's qualified. And so in the same way that when the kids see me lifting with them, when they see me competing, that instills a natural sense of like, this is a legitimate guy. He knows what he's talking about. But then one of the things I was talking to Mr. Ziegler over the summer about, it's like, would adding the ACE personal trainer certification, will that help out? And I think for a lot of people, knowing that it's not just some random guy, it's not just the PE teacher, it's a fully qualified individual teaching these kids how to lift properly, I think that really instills a lot of peace in a lot of the parents. And it's also giving them support and trust. Here are just a couple pictures from some of our stuff. And so, this is our lifting or advanced PE, but it's not just lifting. The horsepower shirts, the one I have on, the kids earn them after 10 visits. We've been, this top middle picture, so learning how to bench press, it's something that, I think a lot of people really take for granted as far as, what it is, but learning a lot of that kind of, the details of it. The kid actually has, it's Sam Cohn, he is one of the best kids as far as his technique, has a small PVC pipe under his back, and it says, a small little detail of trying to learn and teach something. Over there on the right, a couple kids are doing planks, and they've ended up going to the point where they're adding a little weight on their back. Isaac Truax, another great kid on the bottom left, he's been doing his dumbbell bench, and he's got a very strong bench and is working on trying to increase it. 50-pound dumbbells are the heaviest we have in there, and he can hit those for over 20 reps. And so I showed him a way to increase the resistance. So he has a resistance band around his back, and then he pushes it up, and that provides a little more resistance to the top. It's not just guys in our class, though, too. Ava's in there as well, but a wide variety of girls. And here are 2 girls in the middle working on they're called Nordic curls, and so doing even some bodyweight movement. Even though this is a bodyweight movement exercise, it is very challenging. I did it with some of the guys today. I actually did it with Isaac, and my hamstrings are very sore already. But then also, always trying to take our training up one more level, kind of experiment and work with some new things. And so, Ava came down and working with her on the bottom right picture with the bands. And so this provides a little bit different look and feel while training. This is something that, a parent did bring to me. The question is like, why are we maxing? And it's like, well, some of the kids, whenever they start lifting any weight, they're going to fail at some point. And so my job is to try to teach them how to lift whatever weight they're going to do in a safe and effective manner. And we didn't really, so right now, a lot of the pictures you might see are with the kids lifting heavy weights. We didn't really start off lifting heavy weights. When we first got in there, I'll go back to this picture, the PVC pipe that's on the top center, we were actually using those, holding those out in front of us to bench press while standing up. So we were learning how to do things with the PVC pipe standing. So either way, once we started moving along, in the beginning of the year, actually last spring, we had 5 people, who were benching 100 pounds or more. And, as of our last max cycle, we have 50. So 50 out of, it's about 90 kids in the classes who are benching over 100 pounds. But you can also see the growth. Our first time we did our maxes, people were about 93 pounds, and then it's gone up to about 103 and then 113. So it gives you, I love tracking the numbers. It gives a quantifiable spot of where they're at, but also how they're improving. And it shows, this isn't just something that, they're coming in, throwing as much weight on there randomly and trying it out. There's a method to it, and they're improving. It's at a gradual but a consistent pace. One of the last things too on this is from last Friday on the right. Mr. Siglin and I were working out with the horsepower group. And again, when you have a teacher and a principal who are willing to engage with the kids, we know that's effective in the classroom. When you see that out in the in an athletics area, the best, whether I'm wrestling with them or whether I'm lifting with them. There's a type of trust that the kids will, they understand it and they see it, and it provides I think for a lot of the kids, maybe some of the best opportunities they have while at school. There's someone who's really looking out for them to be their best. This is something I kind of started here recently. I haven't got it put up on our Facebook. We have a Facebook page. It's EJHS Horsepower. And some of our top accomplished athletes, we have some of their numbers up here. And so I want to continue and highlight achievement. Sometimes in the junior high realm, in all areas, but specifically in junior high, high achievement isn't always valued by students. And I see this in the PE frequently, as far as in whatever activity we're doing. Sometimes kids don't want to be the one who pushes the boundaries. They don't want to see the one who's trying too hard. And unfortunately, that is a terrible and a negative, attitude, and doing my best to work on, completely eliminating that. And when you have people who are the strongest and all these people here who are just the hardest working, that provides a great foundation for the other kids to look up to and say, hey, I want to be as strong as him, or I want to be stronger than him, and for them to work on it. This also led to, in combination with, I have a kindergartner over in EPS, and Miss Owens does a weekly newsletter. I have not been able to keep up with a weekly newsletter of it, but I do mine every 2 weeks. And so, I realize, as a parent, I really enjoy seeing what my kids are doing in the classroom. And we have not at the junior high, I have not as a PE teacher provided that type of feedback before. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna start with a newsletter. And then here are two of the first pages of some of our newsletters. And so just trying to highlight, again, some of our achievements, our accomplishments that the kids do, and how then we kind of funnel those and, test them out or lead the way in horsepower. Ultimately, where is this kind of really going? We want to, this is something I actually did a recent presentation on, is again trying to highlight their accomplishments. We're going to do some type of strength competition at the end of the year as a culminating activity where, and this was actually recently approved, so we're going to do a powerlifting competition with some other movements though too, where we can really showcase this is what the kids have been working on all year and celebrating accomplishments and giving kids something to kind of look forward to. So, are there any questions on that?
It's really important that we provide a variety of opportunity for students, because you never really know what's going to connect with an individual student. It could be sports related, it could be show choir, band, robotics, in this case, maybe weightlifting, where the students who might need to be involved, engaged, have an opportunity, and having a teacher and a principal and other staff knowing about this, they can sometimes direct that student who needs to be involved towards an activity like this. So I think it's a really good idea, and of course, hopefully it'll help with our athletics team. Although for me, that's not number one. The number one is trying to help them to be stronger academically. So I'm glad to have this activity.
That's one of my main things on it is the accomplishments, that when kids see that accomplishments are recognized and, valued, it doesn't really matter what the accomplishment is, that, again, whether it is on lifting, whether it's academics or anything, when we value and showcase the accomplishments, they can learn to be whatever the best version of themselves are, and that's what they have to go, and that's what they can get from EJHS. So.
And then the last thing I got for you is just kind of a wrap up of, actually, one thing I've got on here is there was a Friday where we were pretty strong most of the summer. We were having 40 to 50 kids show up, but we had one Friday afternoon where we had over 70 kids show up, and that was awesome. But it was also super intimidating because there was a lot of kids in one spot, but it was really cool to see. So the fall semester, just want to kind of bring it all together and just kind of give you an idea of what we've been doing here at the junior high. Our sixth graders, Callie Schlimmer and Brittany Straw, are two of our counselors. worked with the Success School really closely. And they created this year what they called the Tour of Opportunity. And so our whole 6th grade class went out to 5 to 6 different businesses in the area and did some career shadowing for a couple hours. Our 7th grade social studies classes hosted the East Asian Department of Indiana University, and they came in here and set up some things so it could actually bring to life the things that they were talking about in their textbooks. And so it was really neat. They had some different housing units set up and just some things that they could actually touch, and it made more sense to the students what they were doing. We've added an entrepreneurship class this year, and so our 7th grade students have been working on different small business pitches. And so in December, they're going to take a trip to the mill, and they're working with Mr. Lehman to be able to take some of these things that they've created, and they're going to pitch these ideas to different business people in the community. And so they can just kind of see, everybody knows that if you're a doctor, you're going to go work here. If you're a lawyer, you may go work here. If you're a teacher, you're going to work here. But if you work in business, not everybody knows what that looks like. And so it gives them the opportunity to kind of get out and see what people that work in the business world might do. So it gives them the opportunity to connect. Our 8th grade Project Lead the Way classes visited Ivy Tech for the life science and STEM career fields, and they got to tour Ivy Tech, the life sciences building over there, to kind of see what goes on at that building. We have 20 current 8th graders that are participating in what's called Partners in Education, and that's a program that rotates through the middle schools around the Monroe County area. And so these 20 students are getting to familiarize themselves with some post-secondary opportunities. So what does that look like? When I leave high school, if I go to college, this is where I could live. This is the things I can do. These are the opportunities that might be available. Our art classes are getting ready to visit the art museum in December. We currently have, during our flex time at school, we host monthly career panels. We've had basically health careers coming in these last 2 or 3 months. We're going to have a variety of different careers coming into the junior high to kind of talk about what that field looks like. We had, I think this last Friday, we had 8 to 10 different volunteers that came in to talk to students. And it was a group of about 40 to 50 students. And then lastly, in our makerspace over here, we were able to host the STEM fellows from 8 different schools in our design lab, so they could kind of build on their fellowship, but also kind of we got the opportunity to show off our space. And so we've had a lot of things going on this last fall, a lot of things both academic and extracurricularly, and we're just excited about the direction that our building's going. So thank you guys for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Sigmund.
It always surprises me how much is going on in the schools. You drive by them and you think, what's going on in there? And what's that?
It's hard to keep up.
It is hard to keep up. And to think of the directions, and I love that so much of it is student-driven. That is just awesome. So appreciate everything the junior high is doing. Okay, now we have the recognition of the Marching Mustangs. So Dr. Sanders.
Yes. Much to my mother's disappointment, none of her 3 children have an ounce of musical talent. So thanks to the Marching Mustangs, I get to make up a little bit with that and say I'm the superintendent of a high school that has a state championship marching band. Now, to set the stage a little bit, they started announcing, after all the bands have performed, they started announcing who's in 10th place, 9th, 8th, and so on. And I just mentioned to Matt that one particular band has won the state championship 9 out of the last 12 years. One of those 3 was Edgewood, so that was great. But when they announced 3rd place, and that particular band was the 3rd place band, my heart really started to beat fast. And then before they announced the state runner-up, they give this long speech about how you need to give respect to the band who comes in second. Well, you know, superintendents are supposed to be an example of following directions, and they should be an example of being calm, cool, and collected. But when they announced the second place band, and it wasn't Edgewood, this superintendent stood up and yelled, "Yes!" And then quickly I noticed nobody else had, so I sat down very fast. But I just couldn't contain my excitement. So I'd like to introduce to you tonight the band director of the state champion marching Mustangs, Aaron Wells.
Hi, how are you? It's been a fantastic couple weeks. I am Aaron Wells, for all of you that are here. I've been here for a hot minute, and I've had some pretty extravagantly awesome years here. But this one it takes the cake. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, can you write a description? And I'm like, well, first off, I can't write, period. I'm not very good at writing. But I've done my best on a couple occasions, and there is absolutely no way I could ever describe this year. I think the best way to put it to me is like, you know, Dr. Sanders was telling me earlier, he just told me that story about how he jumped up, and I said, yeah. I said, I'm not real sure if we handled it all the right way either when they announced it. But as I was looking around, and I went up front to get to drink my milk with Buttercup and the drum majors and all that stuff, I turned back around and I looked, and as I started to get into seeing more pictures of the weekend, because like it all just became a blur, and everything was moving really fast, and I didn't even get my chance. Like I normally go through and take selfies with all the kids, and I didn't even get a chance to do that because it was just moving at the speed of light, and I got the chance to just sit and look at the pictures. And I think the thing that meant most to me is that I could tell they were all pretty stoked about the fact they won, but they were even more excited about the fact that they did it with each other. Like just the pure amount of joy that they had from one another, and all the hugs. Like we were the huggingest dang band I've ever seen in my life. Like there were pictures, everybody hugging. As a matter of fact, I had one of my seniors. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Wells, watch this. The band's getting ready to start, and I'm still hugging." And I'm like, at the beginning of the show, like we had a kid who, like the show is literally, like Ellie is getting ready to start the show. We have a senior who's making his last hug, and she's getting ready to start the show. So this group just took over a special place in my heart. Like I knew when we started in July we were going to be good, and I didn't really want to tell them like ahead of time, but then I kind of let the cat slip out of the bag, and I told them probably about mid-August. I thought they were truly going to be special, and we had a fantastic career. We had a fantastic run, and I was, I'm always one of those, try to be one of those political people, like, hey, no matter what happens at the end, da 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 da. And I was like, Dr. Sanders asked me, he's like, were you nervous when they were? Or maybe it was Mr. Tucker. Excuse me, it was Mr. Tucker asked me, he's like, were you nervous? I said no. I really wasn't. I wasn't nervous when we got up in the top three because I was like, I knew we'd done our job. And if the 6 people up top didn't think that was the case, then that's unfortunate for them. They missed a heck of a show. But we were very, very special, and it was a very well done program from top to bottom, from myself all the way. My staff was like fantastic. Like Mr. Kaler, I got to give him some credit. I know we don't like to give him much credit, but like he's a fantastic educator, and he's a fantastic friend of mine, and he and I have been together now. So since the day I got the job here, and he has been a fantastic person to build kids here at the junior high, works with me, and we put these shows together, and couldn't do it without him as well. And I don't, we don't like to credit him that much, but he is a fantastic person. And I know we're doing the Edgewood Junior High moment, and he's a big reason why there's some really good things going on in his school as well. So I'm not going to talk anymore because I would love to bring these 2 beautiful people down. They're Miss Ellie Benson and Mr. Saf Hussein, and they were the drum majors of this year's state championship band.
Hello. I feel like I'm getting deja vu. We just talked to you guys. Well, hello. Yes, I'm Ellie. And I don't really have much to say. Mr. Wells kind of summarized everything I was going to say. This was an incredibly special season, and I told you guys that like a month ago. And I was right. Funny. But I've been a part of 3 state championship organizations and groups that have been incredibly special, but this one felt so much different even from the start, even way back in May when we had those little practices where kids were coming and going, weren't sure if they were going to do it or not. And we lost a couple and we gained a couple throughout the year, but in the end, it was absolutely one of the most precious groups of people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing and had the pleasure of leading to the end. And I would not have wanted to change a thing about my last run, even though, if you didn't know, there was technical difficulties in our final run. We had a mic that didn't work, and it was kind of a hot mess. But hey, it's okay, because we still won. But yes, it was very wonderful and very magical, and I look back on it almost every day and just remember what that felt like and how much I didn't have a doubt in my mind that we were going to win, and truly it didn't matter to me because the bonds that I made with all the people and the memories that I had with them throughout everything made it so worth it and meant so much more to me than, that big trophy that we have now. But, it's still nice to look at. So.
Hi, I'm Saf. I'm one of the other drum majors. So, as Ellie was speaking and as I was sitting over there, I was like getting nervous switch trying to plan something to say. So I really don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to wing it and go with it. So I want to start off by saying, I think band and performing arts and innovation at RBB schools has been amazing, giving students the chance to learn in so many different ways, clubs and activities. And, kids, they all learn different ways. And giving band, I think that this is my 5th year now being a part of this, and it's been almost kind of unreal to watch the change, spending 5 years with these seniors and watching them change as people and becoming the leaders and stuff. I think that is truly amazing to watch. And that's all thanks to all the educators and stuff. That's not just Mr. Wells. I love him dearly, but it's all of the educators that we have and all the staff and faculty, because at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. I used to be one of the kids I would get mad at the teachers, oh, they give us homework and stuff. But at the end of the day, I realized the teachers are truly the backbone and support of the next generation and what the students want to do. And so much so that it's pushed me on to want to become a music educator whenever I'm older. And I think it truly speaks volumes to watch some of the middle school kids that we have participate and see where they start in May and watch where they end in November. And I think that's truly amazing to watch how people can grow. And I think it's even more important that music and the activities that we offer here at this school corporation and all the innovation, I believe that's very important, because for me personally, and I know it differs for students, music helps me become a more creative person, but more importantly, it helps me and all the people around me learn how to be a good human being. And I think that's the most appalling part of it, that it teaches me responsibility, discipline, and how to be a good human being in the next generation. It's the simplest things that this program has taught me. When I wake up in the morning, just to pick a piece of trash off the floor instead of just leaving it, or it's just the smallest things, the smallest push it has taught me so much just to be the better person and do just the extra bit, just to be the best person you can possibly be. And I truly am speechless, and I could not say thank you enough for what band and all of the teachers and educators that we have that have taught me. So thank you.
That's awesome.
I really think we could call it a night right now. This has been pretty amazing, just to hear all that. Huh?
We didn't have anything to do with it.
Well,
I'm still proud, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Good
Really
job.
proud of those kids. Okay, we unfortunately do have to go on. So are there any visitors this evening who had visitors' comments? Nope, okay. So next we have the consent agenda. It includes the approval of minutes from October 4th work session, October 24th regular board meeting. It also includes our treasurer's report for October of 2022. And Mr. Durnall, the claims, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Gross wages for October the 14th, 2022 is $690,969.71. Gross wages for October 28th, 2022, $622,585.67. Pre-claims and prepays for October the 1st to October the 31st are $943,712.93. For claims, regular vouchers for 11/21/2022 is $320,050.63. For Forest Hill vouchers for 11/22/2022 is $16,649.19 for a grand total of $2,593,668.13. Thank you, sir.
Personnel, resignations, retirements, non-renewals, leaves, and terminations, C1 through 8, and personnel appointments and transfers, D1 through 18. Also included is consideration to approve the Edgewood Intermediate School's 5th graders overnight trip to Bradford Woods, which I do believe Mr. Sanders would like to talk about. So if we get a motion in a second, we'll get on the table and see what he's got to say.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's stated this evening.
Moved and seconded. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, so one of the highlights of, I think probably 99% of 5th graders, they would say is their time at Bradford Woods. So this is an annual request that we make to the board. This year, this spring, our 5th graders from EIS will be going to Bradford Woods May 10th through the 12th. They'll leave EIS at 11:30 on the 10th and return to school at noon on the 12th. We'll have approximately 192 students going, plus 25 parent volunteers and teachers and staff. Now, the cost this year is $165 per student, which is up $35. So to help parents out, they will be giving parents the opportunity to pay that $165 in 2 installments. And also, there'll be scholarships available for any student or parents that need some assistance. So I always, one of my traditions with Bradford Woods is I like to go out on skit night and eat dinner with the students and watch the students and staff perform their skits. And it's just really a good time to really bond and really spend some time with the students. And then this past year, I actually ran into 2 members of the Bradford Woods staff that were my students when I was a principal. And Bradford Woods meant so much to them that they are making a career of working with students at camps such as Bradford Woods. So it is also a career opportunity that maybe we're planting a seed in our students. So I recommend approval of this overnight field trip.
Any other comments or questions? And I do know that Mr. Routen's wife, Julie, her father was an integral part, his grandfather was an integral part of Bradford Woods. So it's pretty cool to have that personal tie there as well. So hearing that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the Assistant Superintendent's report. Mr. Irwin.
It's pretty cool hearing all that stuff here at the beginning. It's the stuff that reminds you about why you got into education, and just hearing what the kids say, it kind of encapsulates some of the best parts of what we do here day in and day out. So that's really cool to hear. Cash flows, you guys have those there in front of you. The education fund's in great shape. As far as our projected year-end balance, our October numbers were really accurate. I've factored in as many variables as I can into that right now as far as looking at the next 2 months, which is this month, November and December. As far as just what our state tuition will look like now that they're reconciling ADM. And so that was really spot on from what I gave you last month. There's not much of a change there with that. Started to key in a little bit more on some of the numbers on some of the expenses as well. And then the interest in the bank has stayed high. I still have not continued to project that out just because that stuff changes on a whim. I did put in there that we'll get our summer school reimbursement, and that should be happening really any day. I think it comes in, might be coming in tomorrow, is when the state's supposed to disperse that. And again, we're just in a great position here at the end of the year. As you can see, the funds progress well. Our appropriation is starting to get a little bit tighter, as you can see what's projected there, which is why we're going to talk a little bit more about what we'll talk about here later tonight. Debt service fund, we can kind of skim past that. There was no expenses, there was no revenue. That's planned, and you guys know that as you look at that. There's not a lot of action in that fund throughout the year, but that's how it's supposed to be. And then the operations fund, again, not much different than what I gave you last month, but we're projecting year about even on where we started. Again, expenses real accurate. We'll see how the disbursement comes in December. I know what our property tax cap loss is supposed to be, and that's usually pretty close. So I would figure that number to be pretty accurate. But again, that stuff moves around a little bit as they finalize those numbers and disperse that out. One thing I did want to note, and I included this, was just we did have our sale of our GO bond a week ago from today. Went very well. Stiefel was very happy. We were very happy just to hear how that went on the call. The final interest rate came back at 3.79%. The bonds get paid back in 1 year. We're set to close on December 6th as the tentative date. So that'll come up here real quickly, and then we'll see funds around that time as well. So I just want to give you a quick update on that as it pertained to the financials. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you.
We'll also appreciate that.
One thing I wanted to make sure people realize too, that, you know, while these funds are all healthy, we still, in addition, have $1 million in rainy day. So, I mean, we are doing very well financially, and we really appreciate, I know there's many of you that do that, but you're a major part of that role, so we really appreciate that work. Okay, anything further? All right, so now we need to do our Education Fund additional appropriation hearing. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so the additional appropriation is something that I did build into our 2023 budget. As far as planned, I knew that it was going to be a little bit tight as we came down to this point. Thinking about what it is that we had wanted to do with pay and all of those things as it is a major expense. The biggest expense that we have in our education fund is our people, but our people is what makes a great school corporation. So with that, as we plan that out, this additional appropriation, again, is just that authority to spend. It does not change what you see on cash flows as far as what's changing as far as how that looks. It just increases our authority to spend to make sure that we're going through those necessary processes to say, here's what it is that we think our budget's going to be, and we can fund that budget. And so that's essentially what it comes down to, is just increasing that authority spend by $250,000.
Hearing portion, I will open it up to public comment, if there's any public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on then to consideration to approve the Education Fund Additional Appropriation Resolution.
I'd move approval. Second.
You seconded? Did you have any additional comments? Okay.
No, but it'd just be a repeat of what I had, so that's essentially be the same thing.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Now, turn the page. We have consideration to approve the Indiana Bond Bank resolution.
Yeah, so this is for the tax anticipation warrants that we do on a yearly basis. Again, this was another part of what was approved and adopted in our 2023 budget, was that you guys gave permission to pursue these. And so this is us taking that procedural step of pursuing those. I've already turned in the cash flows, turned in the application, and done all the steps leading up to this point for us to use the Indiana Bond Bank. And again, the TAW is just giving us cash flow in between property tax disbursements to make sure that our funds don't run negative, just to keep us even keeled throughout the year. So I have to send them projections and say, here's what I think our payments are going to be. Here's what we project to sit at as our max negative balance in that fund without the intermediary funds. And then they grant us those funds, and then we pay a little interest on that, and that's part of our normal budget. Part of the reason that we get put in that position too is a lot of our debt payments are paid they're paid January and July, which is a little bit different, which kind of makes us making payments prior to the disbursements coming in. And so as we continue to roll back to the normal schedule, it'll start to even that out in the future, but we'll still need to do them probably for a period of time. But again, it's just those intermediary funds that we're using. So with that, I'm asking for your approval of the resolution.
Approval of the bond resolution fund?
We've done this pretty much for the past 16 years since I've been on the board, so pretty normal. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the purchase of asphalt for the really cool new walk path. And I think that Dr. Sanders and Mr. Irwin are going to tag team on this one.
Yes, as I mentioned in my superintendent's report last month, as Dana just mentioned, we have a beautiful walking path now that goes down from the high school down to 46. The walking path was made possible from a tactical urbanism grant written by Vicky Coffey and also our partnership with the town of Ellettsville. I want to apologize that we are asking the board to approve the purchase of this asphalt for the walking path retroactively due to when the town could do the work, when the asphalt was needed to be purchased, when we received the invoices, and when our board meetings were scheduled. The timing just did not work out for us to get prior approval. So we're asking for this approval retroactively. Matt, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
It's a single source purchase. There was only one asphalt plant that was in realistic view for them to get that material from. So there was no bid out of this because there's only one place to go and get it. This isn't any more than what we knew we were going to do as we embarked down this path, and just the timing of how everything worked out was pretty wonky. But they came to us and said, we can get this done now. And so we let them go ahead and get it done now so that the path was put in place to provide that safe walkway for kids to walk up from 46 up to the high school. The total cost of the asphalt was $20,520.32. But again, this was made part through something that we've been working on for a period of time, and hopefully over time we can continue to provide safe paths for our kids to walk around campus.
We recommend the board's approval.
I move approval.
Moved and seconded. Questions, comments?
We are acting retroactively, but I don't think it came as a surprise. We knew about it well in advance, so I don't feel there's anything, it's like you didn't sneak anything in on us, so thank you. Right.
They've been working on it a long time with that grant. And the other difficulty too with asphalt is you don't know exactly how much you're going to use until you lay it. So it kind of makes it difficult that way as well. So definitely understandable. Any further questions?
What was the final stopping point where the path does it go all the way back to the baseball diamond now?
No, it does not. It runs from 46 all the way up to the front side of the high school, and it connects to the front sidewalks there at the high school.
Is the plan to continue on? Is that the plan?
We hope to continue to look at just opportunities to provide more walking path as far as to provide places for kids to walk in between the high school, junior high, and some of those things. We'll have to continue to look for grants or look for other funding sources of how we want to continue to pursue that, and then all the pieces that go along with trying to get that trail along our property and the places that it would work.
Really looking for sources of funding. I contacted Shelley Yoder to see if she had an idea of where we could go to for some funding. Also talked to some of the other representatives and just are looking at sources of funding throughout our community so that we can extend that sidewalk walking area. Mainly the concern for me are our student walkers. So we have plans that we're working on, and not only on campus, but to be honest with you, I would like to get the whole community involved in increasing the number of sidewalks we have in our community. Hopefully maybe through my participation in Envision Ellettsville, maybe that's also an avenue for us to go, but it's kind of become maybe a personal mission for me because I did not realize how many of our streets need sidewalks. And so for the safety of our students, I hope that as superintendent I could work on this over the next few years.
Just being involved on both sides of this, the town is really committed to making sure that all happens, so. I'm sure Mr. Farmer will be tickled that we paid off the asphalt, so.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the purchase of computers for Edge Media. How good timing with the Edge Media presentation earlier. So tag team again with Dr. Sanders, Mr. Roughton, and Mr. Irwin.
Yes, so as Mr. Sieglin pointed out tonight, our Edge Media program at the junior high just continues to grow in number of students and also in number of media productions. It's amazing to me when I think how long that our teacher, Rebecca Guest-Scott, has been leading this program. By her accomplishments, you would have thought she'd been at this for a number of years. And the reality is it's been maybe a year and a half, and part of that under COVID. So she's done an amazing work. But we've been meeting, Mr. Roughton, Mr. Irwin, Mr. Sieglin, Mr. Pogue, and also Mrs. Guest-Scott. We've had, I don't know, 4 or 5 meetings where we've kind of talked about the needs, the equipment that she needs, and the software that she needs to be able to carry out this program successfully. Media production program is here to stay at the junior high and is expanding to the high school. And so this is an investment into our future. I'd like to have Matt, if he could talk about sources of funding for some of this equipment. And then Rick, if you could come up and just talk a little bit about the laptops, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so on sources of funds, it's a combination of 2 places. One, the RBB Education Foundation graciously is awarding us a $10,000 grant to help pay for these. Education Foundation is a huge supporter of our staff and our students and our school corporation, and so this is something that was a little outside the norm of what we typically ask them for. And they didn't skip a beat of asking a lot of good questions, but B, seeing a great chance to jump in and help the students and help a great endeavor that aligns with our mission and vision as a school corporation. You can see some of the cool things that our kids have been doing in this program, and this will only allow them to expand upon it. So we were excited for that partnership. And then the other part of the funds will come from ESSER funding, which is an allowable use on that educational technology piece.
So with the media production, they require a lot of software and hardware resources. And so a normal everyday laptop that we would normally have for teachers and staff and students just doesn't produce the quality of service. So we reached out to the vendor that Adobe Premiere is who they use for all their video editing and software. We reached out to them and talked to them and explained what we're doing, and they sent us back what their requirements are. We took those requirements and sent them out for bid, and we came up with a very high-end production machine that's going to carry us for the next 5 years for the Edgewood Media Center. So we needed something that really had the horsepower for them to be able to do the editing. It's very intense when you're doing video editing, and you have to have the right graphic card, you got to have the right memory, you got to have the storage space. So we wanted to make sure that we reached out to the vendor and got the true understanding of what was needed to do audiovisual production. So that's why these machines are a little bit more than normal type machines that we would have on a student's desk. This is what it's for. So specifically for audiovisual.
The purchase of the.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
Quick question.
But that's awesome what Edge Media is doing. That was really cool what they've put together. Do we have the equipment, and do we have the classes that are continuing on, like once they leave 8th grade? Is it going on at the high school? Is it taking it to the next level, and do they have the equipment that they need?
We're working on the equipment. We're taking what we're doing with Rebecca Scott, and we're increasing it over at the high school, so yes. And we're working with Lisa Wilson to get her the equipment that she wants, also in the next advanced stages.
So the students that are doing it here can continue on at the high school level, okay?
Yes.
Awesome, thanks. And I just want to thank the foundation, because that's well beyond their historical grant history. They have not, $10,000 is a lot of money, but that's great.
Thank you, Larry, for mentioning that, because that $10,000 was an additional ask. I believe they gave a little over $6,000 to teacher proposals as part of their regular mini grant program. And so this was a special ask. So we really appreciate the RBB Foundation and how hard they work to support our students and our teachers.
Very awesome. I had the opportunity to be at the Chamber of Commerce Awards Night, and they brought in a bunch of the students that participated in that, and they got a raving round of applause from everybody that attended there. And that was so good for them to get validation that the hard work that they did paid off, that, you know, all these business people and community people watched it and really enjoyed it and thought they did a great job. So that was really, I'm really glad that they came to get the accolades that they really deserve for that. So anything further? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the classified contracts and rate increases. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so you guys got a chance to see all the classified contracts and what our recommendations were for those classified contracts. The raises for our 4 directors or our departmental leaders, they're consistent with what it is that we have in line with the raises that we've given to teachers. There's a couple of places with transportation and maintenance that we did a little bit more because we were falling behind in some of the comparables, and so there was more catch-up that we need to do in those spaces. Our corporation nurse, there's a little bit less there, but she just got started with us a couple months ago, but she's doing a terrific job, and it's what we think is fair for that position as far as where we stand now. And our other classified contracts reflect similar increases to what you saw. I gave you the long document that showed all of our classified rates, that had our old rates with our new rates. We've been pretty aggressive with trying to make sure that we address staff pay. We compete more now than ever with everybody else for our workforce, and everybody's, you know, fighting to get the same great people. And so we want to make sure that we continue to retain the great people that we have, attract new people, make sure that they feel valued. And so this is a part of that. On the classified rates, it wasn't a percentage. I didn't do percentages on that. And so we again, the minimum that was there was 75 cents on the hour, which is more than the minimum on the hour of what it was even last year. And then in some places, we did a little bit more just because we were falling behind a little bit. And we need to continue to pull up that starting rate to make sure that we're competitive in the market that we're in. And so we saw a little bit bigger adjustments to closing some of that gap while still maintaining and making sure that there's growth for our classified employees as they have years of experience and service here in the school corporation. So with that, we're asking for your approval of the new classified contracts and the classified rates that were in the documents.
Moved, second. Any questions, comments? All had a chance to look them over. So
The only rates that were in there that weren't retroactive were our sub rates and our ECA rates, but those ones were in there. Everything else is retroactive. I did want to make sure I mentioned that, just to make sure that that gets in the board minutes and everything else. But again, those were the only two places that weren't retroactive. Everything else is retroactive, which is a planned part in our cash flows and that stuff. So it's not something that's being overlooked as far as our cash flows go.
So there'll be a makeup payment with.
Yeah, so the goal is that, yeah, we'll get that out. They'll see a retro pay, so the difference in what it is, that what their new rate is versus what their rate was then, and then taking the time that they've done and then paying them that difference, and they'll see a nice bump there. It's always nice that they see that during the holidays. Once we know where we stand financially and what we can do, it's kind of a nice pick-me-up for our people. So, yeah.
Do you know yet which pay period that would show up in?
The contracts should be able to get out, assuming you all's approval. We're thinking that we can get that out with this pay this week. All of our hourly rates is a very time-consuming process. So we're hoping for that first pay here in December, which would be the very next pay. Our office is working pretty hard to make sure that they get that done, just so everybody sees that here prior to the end of the holiday season.
And what about the teacher's contract that we voted on previously? When will they be?
They'll go in this same pay with contracts, yeah.
Okay, so it's all set up at the same time, so.
The contracts are a little bit easier to work out and figure out. There's still a lot of them, and there's a lot of work there. But we've done some preemptive work, just seeing, okay, as far as everything goes as planned, here's what it is that we need to do. And so, yeah, John and Susan and our office team, Robert, everybody have been working really hard on that.
I just want to go on record and with the board or the teachers representative here too, that you guys have done a great job of working together with the teachers and administrators and the classified, but I really hope we take some time. I think there's a committee going to look at the ECAs as we move forward, because we're trying to get those back up to where they need to be. And also a continued educational push for the HSA account, which I know that's the next thing we're going to vote on, to increase our funding for that. But that's just a constant education of employees and so forth. So I appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the administrator contracts for the 2022-23 and 23-24 school years.
So, as part of our efforts to do business better here at RBB, last year we started an administrator salary team. The purpose of this team was to put some structure and planning into determining the salaries for administrators. It also gave us an opportunity to get some input from our administrators and to identify some areas that we needed to improve in terms of salary, and also gave the administrators a sense of transparency, that they had an idea of how their salaries were determined. And so that worked out really well last year. This year we met again, only we had a new set of administrators, a different set representing their school, who came together, and we met one time. And last year we had a lot more work to do. This year, because we accomplished a lot last year, there was really less to do, so we only had to meet one time. Matt is going to share some details of what we're proposing tonight in terms of administrator salaries.
Yeah, so I think the big thing was that was exciting is that we did create some rhyme and reason and some transparency in what it is that we were doing. sharing that comparable data and looking at the things that we were trying to compare against. And so that just made the process a lot easier, bringing everybody to the table, and everybody might not think everything is going to look exactly the same, but everybody's coming to the table and giving input. I think that's important. We try to, where this gets us is about the median pay and administrators. It doesn't put us at the very top and doesn't put us at the very bottom. It puts us right there in that medium range. And so with that, it just, again, it's within our financial parameters. It's well within our means of what it is that we can do. And so with that, I'll take any other questions or if there's anything that you want to add to that.
Yeah, let me jump in there and make sure the board knows. The only exception to this process was the salary for our assistant superintendent. As superintendent, it's my job to determine the recommendation for our assistant superintendent's salary. I took two different approaches to deciding what would be the best salary for our assistant superintendent, and both approaches led me to the same recommendation. And so we are very excited to recommend our approval for the 2022-23 and 2023-24 administrator salaries.
Motion.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation for administrator salaries as stated.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I did have one question, Dr. Sanders. I don't know, is my mic working? Is everybody on the same cycle now as far as administrators, as far as the 2-year contract situation? Yes, they are. So, okay, so we're doing this as a collective group, because I know there's a couple that were hired in between. So, okay.
They're all the same 2-year cycle right now, so it's for this school year and the following school year.
Okay, so if we had, where we get in a bind against if we had to hire a replacement for one of the administrators, we'd have to work that out differently.
Yeah, we typically pull them back to the same cycle as we go through that. But
Okay.
yeah, they're all in the same cycle. So it's for this school year and next school year's contract, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. President,
yes.
I'll jump in here real quick. I just want to express my heartfelt appreciation to the board for their support of pay increases for our teachers, our staff, and our administrators. We have just the best team here at RBB, and I'm very proud to be the superintendent. The people that we have working with our students, they're just simply the best, and they are getting a reputation around the area of excellence. When I hear like realtors, I heard a realtor, I might have mentioned this before, but recently said that when he talks to people about moving to Ellisville, it's one is a reputation of it's a nice community to live in, but always the other idea that the families who are prospective families who are thinking about moving to Ellisville, that they mentioned that our school system is one of the top reasons they moved to the Ellisville area. And so our staff, our teachers, our administrators are well respected around the area. So thank you for their support.
Very welcome.
Add a little bit to what Dr. Sanders just said, in that I appreciate, too, our personnel. I don't want anybody to think that these raises in any way get them to what they are worth. And the state has stepped up the last couple of years and provided funding that we have been able to give some healthy raises, but we're still way behind where 20 years of inaction at the state level has happened. So I would encourage everybody to remind their legislators that they've made good first steps, but the journey is far from over, and we still need to be working on funding for our teachers and administrators.
Having been involved with Edgewood Schools since the start, 1965 graduate, I want to just thank Mr. Sanders for his comments on the staff. Again, I've been around the school here since mid-'80s. Before that, I was at different assignments with my work and wasn't able to live in the city. But the staff right now, to me, is by far the best staff we've had since I've been involved in the school system. So I want to thank you all for that. You two that are here, or 3, 4 that are here. I love this school system, very proud of it. So thank you very much for your leadership. One more thing. Mr. Siglin, I parked in the wrong place tonight, so I was able to walk through the school, and it's hard for me to believe this building is 55 years old. 55 years old. How beautiful it looks. I walked down the hallways there. It looked like I was in a mansion. So I appreciate your staff, you, and all that you do for us. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, and now we have consideration to approve classified health savings account contributions. Mr. Irwin?
Yeah, so this is similar to what we did last year. We started this back up again last year, which was starting to contribute to health savings accounts for our high deductible health plans. We have 2 different plan options that are high deductible health plans, and so these are the 2 plans that people that enroll in these, that they're eligible for a health savings account, and asking the board to continue to do contributions into health savings accounts for our classified employees at the same rate that we're doing it for our teachers. And so what it is that, again, that I'm recommending is $300 into single high deductible health plans and $800 into employee plus plans, which again matches what it is that we did for the teachers during the collective bargaining agreement. As Mr. Tucker stated, we've been doing a lot through our health insurance committee of continuing to educate staff on benefits, health savings accounts, and all the things that they have available to them as a benefited employee here at the school corporation. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, because there's a lot there. And that's usually not the first thing that we're all thinking about, but when we need it, it's important that we know where to get it and how to access it. So I'm asking for you to approve these health saving contributions, which are really important for those people that choose those plans to continue to pay for their medical expenses and all the things that the government allows us to spend those funds on. So with that, I'm asking for your approval.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Seconded. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the distribution of teacher appreciation grant funds. Dr. Sanders.
Yes, so each school year, the state of Indiana provides funds to school corporations to give a stipend to effective and highly effective teachers. RBB CSC will receive $99,040.62 that we will distribute to our teachers under the following guidelines. The grants have to be distributed in a single payment. School corporations must distribute all stipends to the teachers within 20 business days of the date on which the IDOE distributes the teacher appreciation grant dollars to the local school corporations, which will be December 2nd. The teacher appreciation grant funds will be given to effective and highly effective teachers. Highly effective teachers must receive 25% more than effective teachers. The bonuses will be given as stipends, and teachers must hold a certified position within RBB CSC. We will also be giving our effective and highly effective administrators a stipend similar to the teacher appreciation grant stipend that the teachers will be given. The appreciation stipends given to the administrators will be paid out of the corporation education fund. We did this last year, so your vote tonight is to distribute the tag dollars, but also the appreciation dollars for the administrators here before Christmas.
I move approval of the distribution of the TAG funds.
And the TAG funds as well as the administrative funds.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions, comments?
Dr. Sanders, do you have a general ballpark idea, if I'm a highly effective teacher, about what that might account to?
I will present that into a report to the board in December. We'll have all that information. I'll give it to you exactly.
Okay, and then maybe I'd like to know the percentage of the two categories also,
Okay.
the highly effective and the effective teachers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Consideration to approve the debit card fundraiser agreement with the IU Credit Union. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, last month I brought to the board two agreements, one from German American Bank, the other from Indiana Members Credit Union, to participate in a debit card fundraising opportunity. IU Credit Union also approached us with a similar program. Now, with IU Credit Union, they will give 3 cents per card transaction for a minimum of $2,500. And so at the end of the year, if the 3 cents per card transaction doesn't reach $2,500, they'll at least give us that amount. If it goes over that, we'll get $2,500 plus whatever's over. We'll receive a check and a report once a year, and we're using these funds to support our project-based learning activities that the teachers are doing in our design labs, in our STEAM labs, being able, when they have an idea, we want to be able to support them with funds to buy the materials to make sure the project is successful. So it's similar to what we brought to the board last year. Ferguson Law was able to review and make some suggestions for the agreement, so we bring that to your attention for approval tonight.
I'll move approval.
A second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? We appreciate IU Credit Union as well as the two from last month for this. It's a great way to bring additional funds in for those STEAM projects and project-based learning. So all those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Now we have consideration to approve the updated use of facility fees and board docs.
Yep, so this is something that back in February, we updated our policy, which is policy 7510, and then the administrative guidelines 7510A. This is something that been looking at for a while now. We have not updated our facility use fees in those documents, most of them for about 18 years. So coming back and just wanted to brush these up. Kind of, we've circled around the wagons here a little bit, and Dr. Sanders, Dirk, Mick, Mr. Sieglin, myself, other people we've sat down and talked about the facility use document that we have and the fees that are sitting there, and there's been some, as we looked at it, there was some confusion of how this applied and how that applied. And what I did was I sourced, through a leadership group that I'm in with some colleagues, I sourced about 9 other school corporations of how they set up that document, and also how they set up their fees, to try to make ours a little bit easier to understand, not only for our staff, but for the public, and also just to clean up our board docs as well. And so everything that I'm proposing here falls in line with the board docs and the policies that you guys approved earlier in the year. Some of the stuff that's on the updated facility use fees, I did not change, like our community swim stuff. I did not change that. There are some other pieces that I did change to make it more comparable with what other school corporations are charging as far as to rent those facilities. And again, these are not fees that are meant for the school corporation to make bunch of money, but it's for us not to be fronting dollars to host other people's events. And so it's just to cover those costs, and it clearly outlines the costs of like an employee for like a custodian or for, you know, someone else of that manner, as far as what it would cost to have them continue to work that event or to do those sorts of things. And so, again, this was a cleanup. I did work with Christine Ferguson Law on this as far as running by this document with her as far as the different pieces of this. One of the changes that is in there that's specific is instead of a $1 million insurance policy as us named as an additional insured, we did change that to a $5 million, which is the max amount of liability that we could have under the tort claims law. Did I get that right? I'm getting good. And so that does match that as far as that liability for the school corporation as us being named as an additional assured. We did look into that a little bit as far as it not being a huge burden to the renter to be able to get that, as far as a big difference in what it might cost to provide that type of document for the school corporation. Again, a couple of things on there. It's to update the form 7510F1, which was included in the board packet and which is currently on our school website under the documents section of our website when people go to look for our facility rental. It would be to remove the administrative guideline 7510. We have a 7510A, but we don't need a 7510. And then to remove form 7510BF1 and remove form 7510F2. So there's a lot of redundancy in a lot of these documents, which in part has played into some of the confusion as well. And so just as a whole, just want to brush this up, want to make it easier to understand and get rid of some of the redundancies so that it's a little bit more straightforward so that we can apply it correctly. So with that, take any questions, but I'm asking for your approval.
I move approval.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments?
I do have a question. When underneath the fee spreadsheet, the examples of RBP, CSC groups, et cetera, those are exempt from the cost, right?
Yeah,
Okay, because that didn't.
Something there at the top, and that's no different than what we've done pretty much in the past and what's outlined in that board policy that you guys approved in February. It talks about what groups that we don't charge the rental to unless there was, you know, some sort of additional staffing piece or something that went along with it. But I tried to outline some examples of what that might be, which is pretty characteristic of what a lot of our use is. But obviously there's more people that ask to rent our facilities than that. But yeah, I was trying to just kind of give a snapshot of here are some examples of who those groups might be. Yeah.
Well, the exempt groups too, I want to make sure that I'm not sure if each building's in charge of their own accepting those forms, or if we have a central office person doing it.
So the buildings do take those request forms in the process, and then they'll work with us if there's questions or stuff like that.
The liability changes, and then with RBB sports teams, just make sure they understand that the change in the liability requirement, give them a little bit of a heads up on that.
Yeah. So after, you know, assuming your guys' approval, we'll get this out to the staff. We'll get this with the website updated, and that way they know what kind of updates say, hey, just FYI on this, so that they can get that done. Yeah.
So the groups that are not specifically RBB, CSE, that are exempted, they still have to do the insurance requirement, correct?
So typically, so they would pull in, we'd have those, like, especially if it's like a one-day big rental for like, you know, a tournament or a game or something like that. That's those rental forms that we'd want just for that coverage from a liability standpoint.
Anything further? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. That concludes our action items for the evening, so we'll turn to the superintendent's report. Dr. Sanders?
Yes, I would just like to start off by congratulating Dana Kerr and Angie Jacobs that they will be working with us, and I'm looking forward to their continued leadership and positive impact on our school corporation. So thank you for serving and congratulations. I just bragging a little bit tonight about our school corporation. I had the wonderful opportunity of attending the Community Foundation of Bloomington and Monroe County's annual report night, And I was so proud because as the evening went on, and Tina Peterson, the CEO of the Community Foundation, was talking about their efforts with a variety of different initiatives, Edgewood Schools came up over and over and over again, talking about our Ready School opportunities, our Innovative Learning Center, and Design Labs, and STEAM Labs. They brought up the Edge Media and our media production program, our high school internship partnership with Upskill was mentioned that night. And also we had 3 students who were 2023 Lilly Scholarship finalists who were recognized that night, Felicia Bolander, Claire Crane, and Hayden Wilson. And then the board has a little ornament. And so the theme of the report, their annual report event that night was had to do with balloons and lifting up others. And so our students here at Edgewood Junior High School, and I think maybe also at the high school themselves, made these ornaments. And so I gave one for you tonight to have. So I was very proud when listening to all that at the Community Foundation meeting. Saturday night, I had the pleasure of attending our Edgewood Theater Arts performance of Mamma Mia, and it was my all-time favorite performance. Now, I said I didn't have any musical talent, but I did like ABBA, and so I was not very loud, but maybe in my head, just singing along. But the talent of our students, I was in awe of how great a job that they did that night. So, as a commercial, we have 'Tis the Season coming up, and we all know how great of a performance that is. December 3rd at 7 o'clock and December 4th at 2 o'clock in the EHS auditorium. So I'd like to encourage everybody to come out to see 'Tis the Season. And then our Mustang Coffee Corral opened up for business with our students. And within the first hour of operation, they served 70 drinks. And I just wanted the board to know that here are the hours of operation if you ever want to come by. Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays from 7:15 to 7:45 a.m. and on Wednesdays from 8 o'clock to 8:45 a.m. It's closed on Thursdays. And then we hope to expand the hours as we get more students involved. Right now, there are about 10 students who are involved in this student-run business. So they're doing a great job, and we're really proud of their efforts. And then we have some robotics competitions coming up if you would like to attend those. December 10th, we will have a blended competition, elementary and junior high, at the Edgewood Junior High School. On January 14th, just the junior high only will be hosting a competition. And then on June 21st at EIS, there'll be an elementary only robotics competition. And it's just so great. If you've never been to one, it's so interesting to watch the kids collaborate, problem solve, and then just have a good time. It's hard to believe they're learning because they're having such a good time with the robotics program. And then finally, I just wanted to give you an update on our construction. The playground at the EECC has been installed. The shelter is almost finished. Matt and I went up there and looked today, and it's nearly finished. And then fencing should be completed soon. The new transportation area, we received our certificate of occupancy, and so our mechanic Cody has been, he's like a kid in a candy shop. I've gone in there and I've seen buses up on the racks, and he's working very diligently to repair our buses. And so it's really nice to see that area being used. And then our new administration office is nearly complete. The interior stone is finished. The doors are painted. The cabinets and counters have been installed. And one of the delays we thought was going to happen was with the carpet, because at one point we were told that it wouldn't be delivered till November 30th. And this hasn't happened very much in this project, but something arrived early. And so we anticipated them being on site installing the carpet 3 days this week and 2 days after Thanksgiving. But Matt and I went over there today, and they got a lot of it finished in 1 day. And it's all really looking nice. And I can't wait for us to get in there. I'm still shooting for our board meeting to be in the new boardroom in December. So I'm getting very excited about moving in, which hopefully we'll move in, probably mid-December to over Christmas break, somewhere in there. And I want to thank Rick also for his extra hard work and helping us not only with the technology side of things, but his experience that he's had in his career really helps us out a lot, and making sure that things are done correctly, and that's a lot of extra time on his part. And then I just also feel the need to thank Christine Bartlett with Ferguson Law. She is always there for Matt and I. If she doesn't answer the phone immediately, it's within a few minutes, and so she helps us and supports us an awful lot. So thank you, Christine. And that's my report.
And now we have RBBEA comments, and we have Mr. Yules this evening.
That was a lot to think about. My brain's full. Jeez, oh Pete. A lot of student things. The Lilly finalists, I'm fortunate to have all those in my classes this year. Those kids are amazing. There's a lot of good kids here everywhere. Former students, Josh Sparks, remember him running through the hallways. It's great to see former students coming back and contributing, whether they're teachers here and there or just helping out everywhere, ECA. Speaking of that, with the band, I have Saf and Ellie in class as well. They are great humans. That to me is a reminder of, I'm a teacher first, obviously I'm a math teacher, but I coached tennis for 20-some years. Took care of the math team forever. And I always look back at school too, and to me, now that I'm 29th year in now, I know it's the academic, yeah, I know you're laughing at that. I know it's the academics that get you down the road. It gets you from point A to point B, maybe to college, to your job. But it's the extracurriculars, it's the field trips, it's the other things, Bradford Woods, those make the memories. And so it's nice we have those opportunities, and really behind the scenes, you guys make those happen. You approve those things. So appreciate that, because, the kids don't realize that. They just know they have them, which is great. But people like Aaron Wells, anybody who offers these, they know that you have to approve them. So we're really fortunate in that regard. Also, I want to thank you guys, of course, for a one-year contract, helping everybody out, like in the words of Jimmy and Dana, I think, supporting good people from administration, teachers, classified. Everybody needs taken care of. And last thing, I have people that ask me, because they know what I do a little bit in the role, and I'm not saying this to butter you up, because I tell them that, but I'm just telling you. They ask me, how you guys doing over there? And I said, well, we got a pretty good school board, actually. And so congratulations to you and Angie for continuing on. I said, we got a solid board, we got a good superintendent, we have good communications. A lot of that is also pushed towards Matt Irwin as well, because we talk a lot. So I appreciate all the good communication. Nothing's perfect, we're always working on things. And also, in the off season, that's one of our priorities with RBB is to work on the ECA things, so thanks for mentioning that. Last thing, not school related, driving home today, I live in Bloomington. Driving by Hart Street where the light is, People's State Bank. The line coming westward was backed up forever. I was looking for an accident,
it was it was going to the food pantry. Like, holy cow, it's a big line. But it made me thankful for what we have and hopefully for what we can give to people. So with that, we got Thanksgiving coming up, so we'll get through tomorrow, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Board member comments. We'll start with Mr. DeMoss.
Thanks to Mr. Siglin. I appreciated the presentation. It was great seeing Josh up here. He said that he was nervous having to address the school board, but I thought he did a great job. He also said he didn't think he'd ever be in a position where he would be talking to the RBB school board, but when he was my student. I also appreciate the fact that there is an emphasis on the media and journalism writing. As a former English teacher, I know that if you learn how to write in a journalistic manner, you are writing more clearly and you are writing accurately, and it is important. And my journalism professors gave me a heck of a lot harder time than any of my English professors ever did as far as my writing was concerned, so I appreciate that. Congratulations to the band. That is outstanding. What a great group, what a great program, and what an accomplishment. And finally, in the spirit of thankfulness, tomorrow night we tip off the basketball season. I'm thankful for that, and that's all I've got.
Ditto to what Mr. DeMoss said, and again, hats off to Mr. Wells, and I really appreciated listening to the two students tonight, and Mr. Siglin, your students that came forth early on. That kind of got me energized again. And the Edge Media video, I don't know if you made it work that way tonight, but that was a great message, the video itself. The video was awesome, but what the message told us about with the beacon and Shalom Center, I didn't even realize all that was going on in certain parts of Bloomington. So that was, what an eye-opener for those students to see that, what goes on in the world, and to make them thankful for what we have. Again, thanks for Stifel's continued guidance with our GO bonds tonight, and that money will be spent to take care of our needs here in the utmost time as far as our facilities and so forth. So thanks again, Mr. Irwin, for that information. And again, I'll just follow up Mr. Jones. He eloquently put it together. Just be thankful for what we've got, and let's enjoy the holiday season and be safe on the roads. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I too would like to thank Rick Roughton. He has been helping us with the situation we have here in the schools where communications is a little bit lax, so to speak. John and Brenda, I'm sure you're aware of that. We may have to change radios here in the next couple of weeks to get a little better signals on that. Dr. Sanders, Matt, thank you so much for your leadership. I appreciate it so much. John, Brenda, thanks for being here with your staff. I appreciate that. Just a little history of the EHS and Ellisville band. Of course, when I was going to school here, Jim Thrasher competed against the big boys up at the state fair, and it was a one class at that time. There was anywhere from 110 to 125 bands each year. In a couple of years, we were in the top 10. So, I mean, we were very proud of that. And then it moved on to Bill Avery. And, you know, when my boys came here, we walked into the high school one summer. We were thinking about moving back, and I had the boys with me, and I found the band director and introduced myself, and he said, "Who are these kids?" And I said, "Well, they want to be in your band." And he said, "What do you play?" They said, "Tuba." And he threw him back like the wind had blown. He said, I'm after tuba guys all the time. I have two people who I'm walking the door at the same time. So that was great. But that's just been a long-standing tradition, and we're so proud of our kids. And again, I'm so proud of the school system. Thank you.
Along those lines of thanks, also tonight I'd like to thank Robin May, getting all this set up for us, of all the time, keeping all of our paperwork in order and taking good care of the board as the secretary. I appreciate Kat's coming out as well. As you can tell, this board is just very thankful to be a part of this school corporation. And as Mr. Yules was saying, you know, how you ask about how you get on with your board. I get asked that too. How do you get along with your teachers union? I said, it's awesome. I said, you know, we really all work really well together. And some people say, oh, that's cool. Some people say, really? They can't believe it. But yes, believe it. So we're so thankful for the fact that we all get along here and we all have good relationships. So happy Thanksgiving, and this meeting's adjourned.
It's just amazing what you all do. It's amazing. I love watching you do your work. And there's Robin. Let's give Robin a round of applause.